he was quiet for a couple of minutes, and then he looked at me and he was teary eyes and said, something, I think that they will say that I don't care much for them, that I only provided things for them.
Thanks for listening today. My name is Kagan with BriteBee, and today we have Cesar Canales joining us on the person behind the professional. Cesar Canales is owner and insurance agent at Canales Family Insurance, Allstate in Plano, Texas, and he started his agency back in 2014. Before that, he's had a long career in broadcasting, both radio and TV. Another one of these guys where I don't know why I'm leading this. I think I should give him the mic and let him ask all the questions. But Cesar, thanks for being on today, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kagan. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Cesar, give us just a little bit of background on why you started the insurance agency after being in radio and TV so long.
So about 15 years ago, I was organizing an event for a community in Chicago, and we had a main sponsor was one of the most important insurance companies in the country, and they were the sponsor of the event. And I noticed one thing, that there was a very big need for people to understand insurance, because these agents that were working at an event, and we all been in those events where they're passing away, the Shatsky's, the cups, the shirts, things like that. But in this case, most of the people were not interested in just getting a koozie or getting a shirt or a fan. They were actually interested in getting answers. And at that time, I thought, wow, there's a great need. So I talked to one of the agents for that company, and he told me, you won't believe the amount of people that need information about insurance, that they don't understand what they're paying for, and that's why they often are upset about how they pay or how it's handled. And I said, wow, that inspired me to. At that time, I was doing really well in the company, so I couldn't even dare to think in moving into the insurance business. But I thought this will be a great place where I can make a difference at some point if I want to leave this business.
You came from the broadcasting and radio industry. Tell us a little bit about that and your experience there.
It was very, very rewarding, because you get to know a lot of people, and you get to you get to know and work with influencers. You get to work with personalities, radio personalities that are leaders of opinion, and that they also help in a lot of ways, not just to entertain, but also to connect communities, to inspire communities, to help them go through the day. Because nowadays you have the podcast, but even before the podcast, they were the morning show guys and the afternoon drive guys that will help the regular worker to go through the traffic, or with the midday guys who give you bits of information that help you start a conversation or at home, or make you feel like you were learning something on the way to work while you were not enjoying those 2 hours of commute in the middle of traffic. So, and that also helped me to understand that a microphone is a powerful tool, that you have to take that seriously, whether you're entertaining or just providing information, but you have to take that seriously, and that you have to understand and prepare for a job like that. So the broadcast industry gave me a different perspective on having an opinion and just saying it in a group, because when you have a mic, that could be thousands and sometimes millions of people that are going to be listening to that, and they might take that opinion as a very, very has an authority, or has a change of life for them.
I'm assuming you were working with some pretty talented people, because most of, radio and everything is not always edited. So, you have people who are actually speaking live right at that time, not like these podcasts where we can edit them out now and change things around and make them sound as good as possible.
That is correct. I learned the value of people that were always, that their mind was in a different RPM, that the revolutions of their ideas were so fast, and they were connected to their voice, that I say, wow, not everybody has that talent of being thinking not only about what they're going to say, but the consequence and what's next, and how to harmonize with the rest of the team, like in the case of a morning show or an afternoon show where you have 3 or 4 members. And on top of that, they're automatically gauging the interest of people in the topic that they're touching, and the size of it. Because now we have a podcast that you can say, hey, well, this was really interesting because we got a lot of people and people share it, right? At that time, you kind of have to be analyzing minute by minute what you're saying and judging by yourself and like, okay, is this going the right place? And if it's not being interesting, then I have to switch it. And if it's been interesting, then let's light it up. Let's put more gas to the fire. So that's a very interesting talent, and you see that on now. You see it with in plays in New York, or you see it in movies when you can see the opening weekend and then you know if it's going to be a hit or not, right? In radio, that happens minute by minute. In TV, that happens minute by minute. So it's a very interesting phenomenal when you're going live on that.
Would you say that it was a pretty stressful environment as well, or was it not as stressful because of the I say quality? I don't know if that's really the right word, but the quality of people who were up there, they were used to that type of interaction.
It was stressful in a way that you have to be 100% alert and you have to be 100% on the ball. Is that one time one comedian showed up to our radio studio, and after being there only for about 35 to 40 minutes, he came out and he told me, he said, you know something, I have a new appreciation for people that do this live. Because he said comedians, we get to go to shows and we try material, and then finally we get a show on HBO or we do something on TV. But we already tried the material and we only going to do that material, and it's going to be the same material for 25 minutes, for 27 minutes. And then we're going to go to the next city and we're going to do the same. He said, your guys here are doing it live all the time and they cannot repeat that material. And I said, yeah, that's really, he says, that would be really stressful every day to have that load. And I said, yeah, in a way it's very stressful, but at the same time, that challenge, these people are fed by that challenge every day. If you give them something else, they would not be happy. I had people that they were completely bored when we say, hey, we're going to go record it and we're just going to get the best material out of your last 3 shows. And the guy like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to sound good.
Some people perform so much better under pressure. I've told people I don't enjoy being in front of a couple of people giving a presentation, but if I'm in a room of a ton of people, there's something I do better for some reason. It's kind of strange. You would think it would work the exact opposite, but there's something about it. And I think the energy and the pressure of knowing that there's a lot of people watching you, I think you do perform better sometimes in those situations.
It is so interesting. What you mentioned is something that I use when I'm training. I try to help people to become better speakers in small groups, because it's a lot more challenging to talk in a small group than talking to a stage where there's 50,000 people in a stadium.
Why do you think that is?
It's a very simple. A psychologist once told me, and he was also an agent for a major recording artist. He said, hey, you know something? The deal is when you're in a small group, you can see their eyeballs. You can actually see that they're watching you, and you can see their expressions. So you actually can gauge if the person he's bored or he's sad of it, he's angry, or he's in disagreement with you. While you're in a stadium, you're not seeing that. You're so focused on the message because you cannot actually see each individual expression that you don't care. But the smaller the room, the more difficult it is. That's why when you see this great speakers and entertainers that started in corporate events, you kind of see a little bit of a different dynamic when they are with 10 people, 7 people, that when they are in a room, in a conference with 3,000 people. And that goes for a motivational speaker, that goes for a journalist, that goes for a comedian, any type of a speaker that's going to present themselves in an environment like that. And that logic that got me to think, okay, I need to work with my team, because I have talent people that were on the air and they will do awesome. They will interview a president and it will go without a hitch and it will be a hit. And then there will be in the stadium and it will be excellent. And then we'll bring them to a corporate event. And there were only maybe 8 to 10 vice presidents. And they will stutter and they forgot what they were going to say and they would start sweating. And it's like, okay, we need to work on this. So we actually work with some of our talent to improve their small group presentation, because it's not natural. It's actually the most challenging.
A couple of things that from what we've seen, you base your agency off over three core principles: honesty, integrity, and responsibility. And I'm assuming that this just didn't come when you started the agency, but you did this in your other job as well. But tell us a little bit about why you really focus on those three core principles.
And so what I learned that when you work in any type of job, it doesn't matter if you're a plumber, if you are picking up trash at a park, or you're a surgeon, it doesn't matter. Some of my friends that are in the medical field, they tell me it's really hard to be 100% honest with some of your patients because they go crazy. They go crazy on you, and that's it. But we owe it to them. So what I believe is that you have to use grace when you are telling the brutal truth to someone, but you have to be honest all the time, because I don't want to have to keep track of different versions of a story to different people. So whatever you ask me today about something that I'm doing, I'm going to tell you the truth, because next day somebody else is going to ask me the same thing. I'm going to tell you the truth. If you continue to build that reputation, at the end of the day, you could be broke, you could be bankrupt, you could be homeless, but the only thing that you're going to have is your reputation. If you build a reputation on those core principles of being honest and tell people what you're thinking without being, obnoxious and disrespectful, just tell them what you're thinking. In a way that sounds not what do you call it, that you're not making up things just to sound better and look better among them.
Sure.
For them. So that's why we go those principles. So the honesty and the integrity is like, I work with people, I manage people that were not the most organized, that they were not maybe the hardest working people, but when they say that they will do something that it was vital to the mission, they will do it. And if they didn't, then I lost respect for them. So integrity is something that provides you and increase the position of respect that you have with another individual. So those things are very, very important. And responsibility is like, you got to take ownership of what you do. You cannot always blame the weather and it was Monday, I wasn't on my best game. Oh, it was Friday, I
Right.
was thinking on the weekend. Or something.
It's the traffic.
Yes.
It's the traffic. It's always the traffic, right?
Yes, you can. So you have to take responsibility. The responsibility is not about, oh, well, we're responsible for your business. No, we're responsible for our actions, and we're going to take responsibility. If we make a mistake, we're going to tell you, hey, we made a mistake. This is the way we want to correct it. And first of all, we want to apologize and not make excuses, because extreme ownership is the best show of responsibility you can have.
So I saw some great pictures of your family online. It looks like that, you definitely value your family. So tell us a little bit about your family, and, how do you balance this business life and managing your employees, but also having time for your family and enjoying them?
You have to set priorities. And with my kids, I tell them that. There was one time that I was working, and when I was working in radio and TV, you have a lot of evening events. And I remember a couple of times when my daughter, that was one of the other reasons that I was so excited about changing industries, because yes, it's a party atmosphere and you can enjoy being in the concerts and the trips and all this, but it takes a toll on the family. If you want to be present with your kids and your wife or your spouse, you're going to have to make this decisions and prioritize, right? So one time I walked home, and then it was maybe like midnight or 1 a.m. after a concert or something. And while I was brushing my teeth, my wife tells me, you know what Maya told my daughter? I said, yeah. She asked me, where were you? And I told her that you were working. And she was, I think she was 4 years old. And I told him you were working. And she said, why is he working? He said, well, you work because you need money to pay for the things that we have, the house and the vacation, all that, your necessities. And she said, like, yeah, but why is he working at night? Why does he want so much money? And I laugh about it. But later on, I start thinking about it, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to happen more often. And not that wasn't the event, but it was the one that it triggered on my head. Okay, let me start talking to people about how they balance their life, because there's going to be places where you cannot do that. And at that time, what I start doing is I start prioritizing. I start saying, hey, I'm going to go at to the ballet class that my daughter has at least once a month, and I'm gonna spend time with my kids a little bit more, and I'm gonna try to match events so that my wife can be there, or I can be there with her. And I start to balance that. And when we did the company, we start talking about that. So that symbol, those pictures, they're about they're reminders for me and for a lot of other people that work in the U.S. that forget what the priority is. Because at some point when I was traveling a lot in the U.S. and I sit down next to people, the very successful business owners or very successful executives in the airplane, I always ask them, what can your family tell me about you? And I was kind of trying to figure out to get wisdom, right? And a lot of them, you'll be surprised, a lot of them were so regretful of the amount of time they spent working.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so interesting to me that there were some gentlemen that I'd never seen in my life. I just sit down in there next to them in the airplane, and I asked them, "Hey, what can your children tell me about you?" And there were a couple of them. One of them specifically that he just said, "Let me get another drink." And he got a drink, and then he was quiet for a couple of minutes, and then he looked at me, and he was teary eyes, and said, "You know something? I think that they will say that I don't care much for them, that I only provided things for them."
Wow.
That's it. And that was like, oh, I said, "Eesh, really bad. I shouldn't ask anything more." But then he started telling me about this, and now I'm trying to connect with my children, but they're too old. They're independent. They're in college, or they already graduated, and they don't have time for me. And I feel lonely. And like, wow. So I'm hearing this, and at the same time, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm thinking, yeah, that's a big lesson.
Right.
Yeah. Where would you rather be? Would you rather be a very successful executive in corporate America, a very successful business owner with millions in the bank and all the toys, but have that regret, or would you have a little bit less of that? So I thought I wanna have a balanced life.
Wow. I mean, that's powerful. And, you speak directly to me as well. And, as you know, just starting another business is just hard enough in itself. And then having two little boys and a wonderful wife. And I think the same thing, Cesar. I think the same
Mm-hmm.
things daily. And,
Yep.
it's one thing to say, dad's going to work, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you think about it more, and you wonder, is that all they're going to remember? Is dad leaving for
Yep.
work versus
Yep.
dad coming home, or dad staying to play with me, or just to talk
Mm-hmm.
with me? So, I mean, that is definitely something powerful. And I know that you're also learning from those things as you're hearing from these people. And I know probably feeling conviction as well, because I know we don't
Yep.
have that balance perfect at all.
Yeah, we don't, and it's something that you have to put on the calendar, because if you don't, then you can do it one day, 1 week, and then you forget the next week. So you have to have that in the calendar, whether it's the soccer practice, or is it the play date, or build a swing, a tire swing for the kids, and then have the, hey, I haven't pushed that swing in a while. Let's do it this afternoon, or let's, yeah, and sometimes break the rules. Sometimes you say, hey, you know something? I know it's Wednesday and it's a school week, but let's go to get some ice cream after dinner, or let's go to on a bike ride. So they'll remember that more than whatever big remote control car or drone you gave them for their birthday or Christmas. They remember more those moments that that any toys or any luxuries that you give them in the house.
It's funny. I just had my two kids. My wife was gone to Texas, and I had my two kids by myself. And as you know, it's always different when mom's
Mhm.
not around, right?
Of course.
And you're thinking, man, I love my wife more than I did which when she gets back, right? You figure out how much she does, and how hard she works. And my one of my sons was away, and with a grandparent, and I had my 1 2-year-old, and it was 9:30 at night, and the one thing that we could have done was get him in bed. we always look forward to bedtime, right? We're always like, when are they going to
Yes.
bed? When are we going to have this moment? And
Yep.
I was driving and I just had this, no, we can do more here. And I had the opportunity to take my 2-year-old son to the movie. Now, people would say I was nuts, and I'm going to tell you something. Everyone in the movie theater, they were looking at me thinking I was a nutcase for bringing my 2-year-old. But
Yeah.
that right there, it's not to boast, because I'll tell you, it was very difficult for me to make that decision,
Yeah.
to do that. I almost had to blurt it out and just say it,
Mm-hmm.
so that you got to keep that promise after you say it to them. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those things where I just blurted it out, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? We're not going to get in bed until 11:30 at night. And
Yep.
but it meant, I know it meant something to him, but I'm going to tell you something. It meant so much to me to have my little boy sitting in my lap and just watching a movie together. And that's something, unfortunately, that we don't have enough time to do. And that's I'll take full blame for that one. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really encouraging to hear you say that, and to hear that you encourage other people to continue to focus on their family. And if you had to leave the insurance industry forever, if you had to go, what would you say the one thing or two things that you would miss most about it?
Oh, to meet new people and all kinds of people. This is an amazing. You know how people say, "Oh, when I love my work because I meet different kinds of people." It's like, I was working in broadcast and I thought I was meeting all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Not really. I have a customer who might be working at Walmart in the gardening department, and he's an immigrant from Iraq. And then the next hour, I have a professor from SMU University who's been in the run for a Nobel Prize, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then I have a top executive for Dr. Pepper and another one from Toyota. Well, I have also the guy who's starting his cleaning. Residential cleaning business, and they're working 16 hours, 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they have a different story and they have a different why.
You're right.
And most of it, all of them have the same need, which is to trust someone to help them with something that is complex for them. So what I will miss the most is that opportunity to meet and hear the story of different people, because I'm about relationships.
Everyone has a story, and unfortunately, a lot of people think some people's stories are more important than others. But as you said, it's amazing to hear stories of people. It gives you much perspective.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I would miss, because this business is an excuse to get to start new relationships. That's what it is, and that's why I don't want to go ahead of myself, but that's actually one of my biggest takeaway. If in this business, what I will miss is to build those new relationships with total strangers that maybe you see at the Starbucks line, and you just only say hi. You will never know that person has a very interesting story.
Can you tell us a little bit about the products you offer and also the companies that you represent? We do have a question of, are you multilingual, and what languages do you speak in your agency?
You're so kind. Even though you heard my accent, you still ask me if I'm multilingual.
Well, we would rather not assume. We would rather just make sure we know what's actually happening at the agency.
You have to be politically correct to say. We used to speak three languages here, but we only speak two. We speak English and Spanish. And we got people customers that speak Arabic. We speak a couple of different dialects from India, and we got people that Korean and Chinese, and we have all kinds of customers, because in our location is very diverse in this area, Plano, Texas, and so we say that we speak English and we understand English with an accent, because we have a big accent, and that's
understanding English with an accent. That's awesome.
Yes, because we speak it the same way. So,
what products and companies do you offer?
Uh, in this office, and I say this office because my wife is in the business as well, and she has a broker agency. But in this office, we exclusively represent Allstate and its products, and we focus 100% in the three major stuff. We focus on the life insurance and the home insurance and the auto insurance. And usually you hear that in the commercial or in the signs backwards, and you hear auto, home, and life. But I believe that is life, home, and auto, because life is more important than your
Yeah,
auto. Home is more important than your auto, so it should be in that order. So
that's
that's what
great.
we offer.
And your five key takeaways. I know that you had mentioned one, but I would love to hear the five key takeaways that our listeners can take away and benefit from.
Well, the golden rule, that's the main one, and that's a constant reminder of uh, do unto others as you want it to be done on yourself, right? You want to be treating people as you want it to be treated. I tell people when they say, I don't know anything about insurance, can you explain it to me in a way that I feel comfortable? And I say, look, I explain insurance or our products in the same way that I explain to my parents, my sisters, my brothers, anybody that is in my family. Why? Because I don't want to assume that you're an expert, and I want to treat you like the way I want it to be treated. So the golden rule is the main thing. Be passionate. You have to be passionate. You have to, if you're into a business uh, that is about protecting people and explaining risk, then be passionate about it. Find out more information and share that information in a way that is simple and entertaining as well. That connects with people. Try not to be boring. Simplicity is another takeaway, because when people ask me, why do you think that you could be successful in this business? Because when you see the numbers of how many agents they failed within the first 3 years, 5 years, or they had to close their shop or sell it, it's staggering. It's just amazing. Amazing. It's not worse than a restaurant, but it's closer.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
but when I see that, is like, if you are able to explain your product and your services in a very simple way, uh, it might take you a longer time, but you'll be able to gain respect, and then people are going to start referring you business. And then stick to your to your core values. Whenever in doubt, just go look at the wall, bring your core values. Your In our case is honesty, integrity, responsibility. And when you're in doubt, just look at those values. Look at those values and think, is this decision or this answer that I'm giving to this customer or this partner the right one? Does it come from those values? Does it pass the test of those three values? And the last one is, hey, God gave us some talents, and God gave us some gifts, and gave us some things to enjoy. So enjoy them. Let's don't try to uh, uh, don't try to worry too much about the bigger goal or keeping up with the Jonases. Just do the best that you can, help as much people as you can, but enjoy what God is giving you every day, so you can be grateful. Be a grateful receiver of all those blessings.
Wow. Well, Cesar, we really appreciate your time. I know that it's very valuable. And at first, in our first initial conversations, when I approached you, I know that you were a little skeptical, but also hesitant to come on. And I just want to tell you, truthfully, it was a blessing to talk to you today. And so I really, really appreciate that.
Well, me too. Me too. I like the way you interview. I think you would have done great in a talk show. But because
Well, you never know. You might be my first person on our talk show.
that would be good.
Next idea,
Yeah,
right?
next idea. Because nowadays, people are listening to podcasts, but oh man, we're so lazy that we want everything on video so we can get the full distraction, right?
You were right about that, and we'll be doing some videos. So I really can't wait. And you said your wife is involved in insurance as well. Man, we would love to have you both together and kind of hear the husband and wife side of things. I think that would be really fun as well. We want to remind everyone to subscribe to our podcast and also give us a review and your thoughts on Cesar. There is no way that anyone could give a bad review on this. I'm telling you that the takeaways and also the information that he gave today was humbling, was convicting, and also was just inspiring. We also want to remind everyone, and don't forget that if you are looking for insurance quotes that don't sting, check out BriteBee.com. And we'll be happy to serve you. Click get a quote, and you'll be able to find insurance agents of your choice. Now, the one thing I did not ask you, Cesar, and I want to make sure we go back to this, is that how do we reach out to you?
Hopefully everywhere. If my SEO is working correctly, hopefully everywhere. You just put Allstate Cesar Canales on Google, that'll show anywhere. So I'd simplify it. No emails, no website, and things. You just Google the name with Allstate and it'll show.
And it does. It's working. So we'll definitely have your information as well in our show notes. But again, thank you so much, and we will talk to everyone very soon.